I remember a warm morning in Anicha, Nigeria, 34 years ago. The sun was rising over the big Niger River that flows past our city like a shining snake. Our home was small and busy, filled with love and worry. My name is Ada, and I was 8 years old. I lived with my mama, my papa, my little sister Amaka, who was 5, and my baby brother Obi, who was only 3. We lived in a crowded neighborhood near the great Onitsha market. Every day I woke up to the sounds of traders calling out prices and the smell of spice and dust in the air. My parents were traders in the market. Mama sold colourful fabrics and Papa sold bags of rice and beans. They worked very hard from early morning until evening. They always hoped to earn enough money to take care of us. I was proud of them, but I also missed them when they were away all day. In our house, it was my job as the eldest child to watch over my brother and sister. I helped dress them and fed them when Mama and Papa were busy. We laughed and played simple games in the yard, like chasing each other or playing with a cloth ball. But we also had a big problem that made us all scared. The problem was that sometimes, when we got a high fever, we would shake and fall to the ground. Mama called these convulsions. I did not understand the big word. I only knew that when it happened, my body, all my siblings' bodies would jerk and tremble like we were being shaken by invisible hands. Our eyes would roll back or stare blankly, and foam might drip from our lips. It was a frightening sight. The first time it happened to me, I thought a monster had come into me. When it happened to Amaka, or little Obi, I felt even more afraid because I didn't want them to be hurt. My parents knew a little about why it happened. The convulsions usually came when we had a high fever from being sick, like from malaria or a bad cold. Mama said our brains got too hot, and that made our bodies shake. She tried to cool us down with wet cloths on our heads. Sometimes it helped, but other times the shaking came so suddenly that we had no time. In our neighborhood, many people did not understand convulsions. Some of our neighbors were not educated about sickness. They were traders and workers, and they believed in old traditional ways. I heard them whisper that children who shook like that might be cursed or touched by evil spirits. This talk made me upset and angry, because I knew my brother, my sister, and I were not evil. We were just sick children who needed help. Whenever one of us had a convulsion, Mama or Papa would shout for help or pray loudly to God to save us. I remember the taste of tears on my face when I woke up from one of my own fits once and saw Mama crying and holding me, thanking God that I was still alive. It was scary for all of us. But even in those scary times, our family stayed together and hoped for the best. We loved each other so much. I promised myself I would always take care of Amaka and Obi, no matter how young I was. I was their big sister, and that was a very important job. Not long after that warm morning, something strange and magical happened to me. It was another evening, and I had fallen ill with a burning fever. My head felt hot, and my body was weak. Mama laid me on our mat in the living room and put a wet cloth on my forehead. I could hear her praying softly, asking God to make me well. My little sister Amaka sat in the corner hugging her doll, and Obi, only 3, played quietly with a wooden car, not understanding that I was very sick. Papa was not yet home from the market. As the night grew deeper and the oil lamp flickered, I started to feel dizzy. Suddenly, that familiar terror filled me. I knew I was about to convulse again. I tried to call out to Mama, but before I could speak, my body started shaking uncontrollably. My arms and legs jerked and my teeth clenched tight. I could hear Mama cry out in alarm, and she tried to hold me so I wouldn't hurt myself. Everything around me became blurry and dim. While my body was shaking, my mind felt like it slipped into a different place. In that moment, I saw something that would change my life forever. I found myself standing in a strange, calm space that was not our house. It was as if I was inside a quiet dream. In front of me stood an unseen friend, unseen to others but clear to me. It looked like a gentle, glowing figure. I could not tell if it was a man or woman, but it felt warm and safe. The figure's face was soft and kind, and light shone around them like the golden rays of sunset. I felt no fear, even though I did not know who or what this was. The being spoke to me without words. I could somehow hear its voice in my heart. It told me I would be all right. A feeling of peace washed over me. All around us was silent and bright, as if time had stopped. I do not know how long I was in that dreamy place, but in the real world my convulsions stopped very quickly. Mama later told me that one moment I was jerking, and the next I became still and even smiled a little. What I remember most is that the glowing friend turned as if to leave. I felt it was time for us to say goodbye. Though I was sad, I understood in my heart that this friend had protected me many times before, and now was leaving me with a gift. With my small hand, I waved goodbye to the shining figure. The being nodded slowly, and then it faded away into the light. In the same instant, I opened my eyes back in my home. I was lying on the mat, sweaty and tired, but calm. My convulsion had ended, and I could see Mama's face above me, wet with tears of relief. She hugged me tight, and I hugged her back weakly. I looked past her shoulder, trying to see if my special friend was still in the room, but there was nothing there except the shadows on the wall. I knew what I saw was real to me, even if I could never fully explain it. That night was a very strange and important moment in my life. After I waved goodbye to that unseen friend, I never had a convulsion again. It was as if the sickness that made me shake had quietly left with that glowing figure. I did not fully understand why, but I felt different. I felt safe, and soon I would discover that something new in me had awakened, something that would help me protect the ones I loved. A few weeks passed after that mysterious night, and life carried on. Mama and Papa were busy as always, and I continued to help take care of Anicha and Obi. We still caught fevers now and then, because in our town there were many mosquitoes that gave us malaria, and sometimes we got other illnesses. But something had changed in me. I no longer feared that I would fall down shaking again. Since the day I waved goodbye to my glowing friend, I had not had a single convulsion. It felt like a bad dream that had left me. I was grateful, but I worried for my siblings. I knew that Anicha and little Obi could still have those scary fits because they were so young. I stayed alert, always watching them closely whenever they got a fever. Mama started trusting me even more to watch them if she had to step out or do chores. I felt proud to be helpful, but I was also just a child, and I prayed silently that nothing bad would happen on my watch. One hot afternoon, my family discovered the new gift I seemed to have. That day, we were all at home because the market was closed for a public holiday. Mama was washing clothes behind the house, and Papa had gone to get some medicine for Anicha, who was feeling sick with a fever. I was inside with my little sister, trying to make her comfortable. Obi was napping on a mat nearby. Suddenly, Anicha's eyes rolled back and her arms started to twitch. She was having a convulsion right in front of me. My heart jumped into my throat. I had seen this many times, but this was the first time I was the only one right beside her as it started. "Mama!" I screamed out, but Mama was outside with the splashing water and probably couldn't hear me over the noise. Anicha began to jerk more violently. I knew I had to do something fast. A strange calm came over me, even as I was frightened. It was as if some voice in my heart told me, "You can help her." Without thinking much, I gently but firmly slapped Anicha on her cheek with my open hand. It wasn't a hard slap meant to hurt, but a quick, sharp tap. To my amazement, almost as soon as I did that, her body shuddered once and then went still. The convulsions stopped. Anicha blinked and started crying softly because she was confused and scared. I hugged her tightly, tears of relief in my eyes. Mama had heard my scream and rushed in, soap suds still on her arms. She saw Anicha in my arms, awake and crying, and me holding her. Mama quickly checked my sister. Anicha was already relaxing, the fever making her sweaty, but at least she was not shaking anymore. I told Mama in a trembling voice what happened. I thought she might scold me for slapping her, but Mama looked at me in amazement and then gratitude. "You saved her, Ada," she said gently, stroking my head. I felt a warm glow in my chest. I did not fully understand how my slap stopped the convulsion. Maybe it was luck, or maybe it was truly a gift from above. After that incident, whenever Obi or Amica started to show signs of a convulsion, like their eyes would stare strangely or their limbs went stiff, I would act fast. I would shout their name and give a quick slap or two on their back or cheek, and every single time, almost like magic, it worked. The fit would stop. Word spread quietly among our family and even a few neighbours that I had a special way to protect my siblings. Some people were surprised or doubtful, but I didn't care what they thought. I was just happy and relieved that I could keep Amica and Obi safe. I became known as a little protector in our household. Papa started saying, "Ada is our tiny doctor," with a proud smile. Though I was just 8, I felt strong and important, as if an unseen power was guiding me to help my brother and sister. I promised myself I would never let anything bad happen to them, if I could help it. Little did I know that a very hard test of that promise was waiting for me, a test that would change all our lives forever. Life in our neighbourhood went on normally, with me as the little protector of my siblings. I continued to watch Amica and Obi whenever Mama and Papa were busy. By this time, a few months had passed since I discovered I could stop their convulsions with a slap. We were lucky that neither my sister nor brother fell into a fit often anymore. They still got fevers sometimes, but as they grew a little older, the scary episodes became less frequent. I was thankful for that. Mama and Papa were thankful too, because it meant fewer moments of panic. Our parents worked so hard every day to provide for us. Papa would carry heavy sacks at the market and talk with customers about prices from dawn until dusk. Mama would stand under the hot sun selling her bright cloth, calling out to people to buy while also worrying about us at home. They earned just enough money to feed us and send me to the local primary school when I was well enough to go. We didn't have extra money for treats or new toys. Sometimes, when bills piled up or the cost of goods rose in the market, I could see the worry lines on Papa's face and the tiredness in Mama's eyes. Even as a child, I understood that they carried a big burden. Because of how busy our parents were, there were times when they had to leave us children at home for a while. We had a few neighbours around, but everyone was busy with their own work and businesses. Some neighbours had shops on our street, others pushed carts or cooked food to sell. In our compound, there was a friendly woman we called Auntie Ifeoma. She knew about our convulsion problems and she would sometimes peek in on us if Mama asked her to. However, many neighbours had odd ideas about our sickness. One man who sold herbs once told Mama that he could chase away the evil spirit causing the convulsions with some bitter leaves and charms. Mama politely refused, trusting more in the clinic medicine and my strange little gift. I often felt uneasy around that man and others who whispered when they saw me. They would say things like, "That girl has a spirit protecting her," or "She uses juju, magic, to stop the fits." I didn't use any magic. I only used my hands and my love for my siblings. But I was a child, and such comments made me feel different and sometimes lonely. Thankfully, I had my family's love. I focused on helping at home and being a good big sister. Amica and Obi looked up to me. They would follow me around like ducklings after their mother hen. I combed my sister's hair and tied it with a piece of ribbon, and I carried Obi on my back with a cloth when he was sleepy or ill. One fateful day arrived that I will never forget. It started like any other sunny morning. The air was already hot by the time the rooster crowed. Mama woke me early and helped me bathe my brother and sister. She was in a hurry. Papa had loaded some goods onto a truck at dawn and needed to travel to a nearby town to buy more supplies for the shop. Mama decided to go with him to help, because she also wanted to buy cheaper fabric from a wholesaler outside the city. This meant both of them would be away until evening. This almost never happened. Usually at least one parent was around or close by. But that day there was no one else available. Auntie Ifeoma had travelled to her village for a funeral, and other neighbours were busy or not home. Mama looked at me with gentle but worried eyes and said, "Ada, you are in charge of the house and your brother and sister. We will be back by evening. Please watch them closely, my dear." I stood up as tall as I could and nodded seriously. "Yes, Mama," I replied. I felt proud that they trusted me, but I also felt a small butterfly of nervousness in my stomach. Still, I put on a brave face. I held little Obi's hand and kept Amaka by my side as we waved goodbye to our parents from the front door. Papa smiled and said, "Be good children. We will return soon with a treat." I watched as they left in a hired lorry, rumbling down the dusty road. I had no idea that this would be one of the hardest days of my life. After they were gone, I locked the front door like Mama had shown me and took a deep breath. "Everything will be okay," I whispered to myself, as much as to my brother and sister. I was determined to be responsible and keep them safe until Mama and Papa came home. For most of that day, things went smoothly. After our parents left, I played with Amaka and Obi in the front room. We built little towers with wooden blocks, and I told them stories to make them laugh. By midday, the sun was high and sharp light came through the window. It was getting very hot inside. I noticed Obi looked a bit tired and warm. He wasn't his giggly self. I touched his forehead like I'd seen Mama do, and my heart sank. He was burning up with fever. I remembered that he had a slight cough in the morning. The heat and maybe the illness were making him worse. I quickly gave him some water to sip and told Amaka to fan him with a piece of cardboard. I laid Obi down on a mat and put a damp cloth on his head, hoping to cool him down. I spoke softly to him. "You'll be okay, Obi. I'm here. Big sister is here." Inside, though, I was getting more scared. I wished Mama or Papa were here now. Even though I had managed fevers and little convulsions before, I always had Mama not far away just in case. But now it was just me and 5-year-old Amaka. I tried to stay brave. At first, Obi seemed to rest. His eyes were closed and his breathing was fast but steady. I kept refreshing the cloth on his forehead. Amaka sat next to me looking worried, and I told her to pray with me. We both whispered a little prayer. "Please, God, make Obi well. Don't let him shake." But almost as soon as we finished that prayer, my worst fear came true. Obi's small arm gave a jerk, knocking over the cup of water I had set by his side. His legs stiffened and his eyes rolled upward. "No, no, not now," I cried. Obi began to convulse, his tiny body shaking in a terrifying way. I immediately acted, my heart pounding. I placed my hand behind his head so it wouldn't hit the hard floor, and with the other hand, I gave him a quick slap on the cheek the way I had done before to stop these episodes. "Obi, Obi, stop, please stop," I shouted, my voice high with panic. But this time, nothing happened. He did not come out of it. He didn't even react to the slap. He was too deep in the convulsion to feel it. I slapped him again, a bit harder, desperation making my movements wild. His body kept jerking, his lips were foaming a little, and I heard a gurgling sound in his throat. I had never seen it this bad. Usually the fit stopped after a few seconds when I intervened, but Obi was not stopping. Tears sprang to my eyes as I kept trying. "Stop! Please, Obi! Stop! Wake up!" I screamed. My little sister Amaka was crying loudly now, covering her ears in fear. She had never seen me fail like this, and it terrified her as well. I realized I needed more help. I was just a child, and my brother was in danger. I remembered that sometimes Mama would rush us to the clinic if things got really bad. But I could not drive or take him there by myself. The only chance was to get help from neighbours. I hated the idea of leaving the safety of our home and involving the neighbours, because I knew they often did strange things during convulsions. But I had no choice. Obi's face was turning a bit blue and his hands were twitching so hard. I feared he might die if the convulsion went on much longer. So I did the only thing I could think of. I lifted my convulsing little brother into my arms. He was small, but during his fit, he felt heavy and was wriggling. I held him tightly against me. "Amica, come," I commanded. She was scared and didn't want to look, but she held onto my dress as I struggled to my feet with Obi. I stumbled to the door and unlocked it with trembling fingers. As I stepped outside into the bright afternoon light, I cried out with all my strength, "Help! Somebody help, please! My brother is convulsing!" My voice echoed down the dusty street. The world felt like it was spinning. In that moment, I felt more alone and frightened than I ever had in my life. I hoped and prayed that someone kind would come. I held on to Obi tightly, trying to keep his head safe as his body shook in my arms. And then I saw neighbours starting to rush toward us, their faces filled with alarm. Little did I know that the help I found would turn into a new nightmare. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for the next episode.